this is on my tax bill. They brought the problem to me, to you, and to others.
Right, but if general statute, as it says here, kind of dictates that the property owner asks for it, a condo owner is a property owner. So if there's 47, then you need 47 requests plus one for the HOA. Or you can have one collective. What's
That's
that?
not what the attorney said.
That's how condos are bought and sold.
I was speaking to the manager here about it, and I've been on some emails. I'm not exactly sure, but I believe the full council has been on there. That would be a written request. The statute just says a written request from the property owners. We don't have a city policy that would further dictate how that would go. I think that burden has been met, which would then trigger the city to be required to hold the public hearing, and then the council would make the determination about
Public hearing.
the removal, and subsequent to that, we have to have the ordinance passed at 2 meetings before it could go into effect as well. So the action today, which I consider would be required under the statute, is to schedule the public hearing.
Hear from the public.
Yeah, so, to that end, it's just if I'm a condo owner and I'm part of an owners association, I can't bind that property owners association or that homeowners association without a meeting and without the officers, without there being a vote. So my question, because I was copied on an email or two, or maybe several, but it appeared to have come from one individual. So I don't know if it's just one condo owner speaking for 47, or if that individual was the president that was speaking formally for everybody. I don't know if that's taking place or not. That was the one question. But again, as I stated earlier, so this property, and all 47 of those property owners purchased their condo knowing that it was in the MSD. So it's like me purchasing a property somewhere else, and it's part of a homeowners association. My subdivision has this homeowners association. And then after the fact saying, well, I don't really want to be part of the homeowners association. So it's kind of changing the rules after the fact. If this was 1978 and we were discussing creating the MSD, and this development said, or this subdivision or this area said, hey, we don't feel we're going to benefit from it, so we don't feel like we want that extra tax. We're asking you not to include us in the MSD. That's one thing. But when you purchase the property knowing you're in the MSD, knowing that's the part of the tax, it's just like knowing you have to pay a HOA due. So I'm okay with having a conversation. If I remember or heard correctly or understood correctly from the discussion today, any decision made, even after the public hearing, really can't go into effect till the next fiscal year. So as we get into the budget sessions and we have our CIP work sessions and stuff, maybe this is worthy of a work session. But just looking at the district, because I agree with you, Mr. Mayor, any plan we make or anything we do deserves to be updated every 5 years. So if the MSD hasn't been updated since 1978, I'm all for revisiting that. I just think doing it on a case-by-case, property-by-property decision is not fair and equitable.
All right. Mayor Pro Tem and Councilmember Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, let me just address some of the HOA questions since I was a previous HOA president. If it is a legal HOA, the HOA president speaks for all 47 homes. If it is a volunteer HOA, then it would have to be done individually, by individually parties. So I think that's the question that would come to mind. But I think it was official per the emails that I received and probably others have received, an individual I have talked to about this problem, for us to go forward and try to move it to a public hearing and then move forward from there. And the other part is, you're correct. It's only could take effect at the beginning of the year, so we have an additional 12 months to iron this out. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Councilman Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I'm not sure I'm sure we do still have a policy committee. I just hope that the policy committee will consider looking at this and making a policy for removal. If there's a particular policy on how it's done for removal from the MSD districts or any other districts that are formed in the future. I don't need a response, sir. Thank you. My next one is, I just want to go ahead and make the motion to move it to a public hearing.
All right. It's motion
And
by
set for January 26th.
it has to be posted. So that's Appleton. Okay.
Y'all would, we'll also reach out to the HOA president, and if that does not work, will y'all accept the first meeting in February?
I'd
So
rather
they
do
can
the
be-
first. Let's just go ahead and do the first meeting in February, please. First
All right,
regular meeting in February. Yeah.
To make sure everybody has an opportunity.
All right. There's a motion by Councilman Davis. Second it. Is there a second? Okay. Got a lot of them. Councilman Jones. All right. Any discussion? All right, council, look to you for your votes, and this is to set the public hearing. And I guess someone, either, who are we missing? Jen, missing one. Councilman McNair, what you doing over there? All right, motion is unanimous. So I guess, Mr. Hewitt, someone from your team will reach out to them and tell them the outcome of the day and to prepare for the public
Chris
hearing.
Colley.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Colley. We didn't mean to keep you up there too long. I know you've been standing a while. All right. Moving to 6.07, consider changes to real property leases. Who's presenting that?
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Is this a council member request?
Somewhat. So at one of our previous meetings,
Yeah.
this policy had been recommended to council from the policy committee. Councilman McMillan had additional suggested changes. My office worked with him to implement, well, not implement, but basically to implement those changes into the policy, but for council's consideration today. So we did put all of those changes into the policy. I'm hoping that he's open to discussing those. We're here, my team is here to help answer any legal questions. Keisha Parker, our real estate manager, is here to answer any questions as to the operational status quo, which is what we're doing now. And so it's for council's consideration to either adopt or reject some or all of his suggested changes.
So let me get this straight. I remember he brought this to us. We said, bring it back. And so we didn't collectively do the changes. Y'all did a one-on-one on how do we do?
So he had his suggested changes. We redlined the policy so council could see how they would fit into the policy. And so it's here for council's consideration to accept or reject those changes.
Councilman McMillan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I move that the council approve all revisions for City Council Policy 155.6, real property lease. That's it. That's
He
the
finished
movement.
it.
Oh, you popped the motion. All right, we might have a little discussion, but he's got a motion now,
Yeah,
so.
the second.
All right, second by Andros. All right, so let us read over. We may have some discussion here.
Thank
So, Madam Attorney, can you summarize the culture of the gist of the changes, since this was a one-on-one situation?
Yes, Mayor Colvin. There are a number of them. Some of them I would say are inconsequential. They line up with general statutes as well as our code of ethics. Probably the most substantial ones, there's a proposed prohibition against the council members and staff renting from the city. We do currently have 2 employees that rent 2 of the 3 residential properties, and so that would be a deviation from what we do now. Additionally, as it relates to leases that are 12 months or less, the statute doesn't require us to do any special notices for those. He proposes that we publish those for 30 calendar days before execution. In addition to that, as it relates to any lease renewals, currently, if you are in a lease with the city, we give you the opportunity to renew that lease. He proposes that we open it up to the general public for the opportunity to lease the property, be it residential or commercial. I believe, and I have Attorney McDonald who worked on this with me, I believe those were the most substantial ones. Everything else was, we already did it, but, we just beefed up the policy.
So, question for you. Two questions actually. One, you said there's some city employees that lease from the city. So, I was at a housing conference, and some communities, as they were hiring firemen or law enforcement, had property that they stayed in while they were transitioning. Kind of a recruitment tool. Is that kind of what we're doing in this case? Is it something like that? Because I don't want to. We got to consider the consequences if that's it. What are we doing here with the employees that's renting it? I didn't know the city had rental property that employees are leasing. Tell us a little bit more context around it.
Yes, sir. And I don't have all of the history, but what I do know is that the 3 residential properties that we have are around the airport, and the 2 employees that are renting them work at the airport.
And that was my point. That it's kind of like a church that has a parsonage for a pastor that you may have some employee needed housing. So will these changes impact the ability to do that?
Yes.
All right.
That particular suggested
All right.
change. And I mentioned the competition piece, but to elaborate on this, Attorney McDonald, his team is sending me a message. So, for example, for one of the nonprofits, when their lease is up, he proposes that we open it up for everybody else to have an opportunity. And the way that our office proposes to do that, absent any other suggestion from Councilman McMillan or anyone else, is to use the bid process, which is what we would do for leases that are over 10 years. Essentially, it's an application process. It would be a battle of the applications to see who gets to actually lease the property once that current tenant's lease is up.
Okay.
So that's another substantial change.
All right. And then the last point that I'll make is this should be applicable not only leasing from the city, but to the city. Okay. So in other words, this covers from what covers to. So this is someone coming to the city for a city building and a nonprofit saying, I've got money and I want to rent your space. And I know the point of this was transparency. How about the to? So if the city rents a piece of property from me, is that a disclosed item? You're covering the from, but not the to. You see what I'm saying? So if you're going to disclose, you gotta put it all out there.
It would be, we would be somewhat precluded without council's approval to lease space that is owned by a council member. We ran into that when we were looking at.
Well, employee, manager.
An employee may not necessarily be the same issue because they may not necessarily be in the position to make the contract. I mean, it all goes on.
Well, I got what you're saying
yeah.
because you could vote for
Yes.
something that would ultimately benefit you.
Right.
I guess what I'm saying is the purpose, I think, what Councilmember McMillan was with that was to increase the transparency and the visibility of the transaction. So if you're catching it from one side of people renting from the city, you need to catch it people renting to the city if they are a certain relationship. Even though, it's just a disclosure. What you're doing is disclosing it. This is not saying that this is nefarious. It's just saying that you want a policy that says that you got to disclose it and give certain notice to the public if the opportunity comes up to lease it.
Question.
Yes, sir.
I'm aware of, I don't know all the properties, but I'm aware of some of the properties and the concerns that came up years ago, especially when you said around the airport. I said, oh, yep, I remember. What my thing is, because I was trying to remember what Councilman McMillan, when he first brought this up about making it more public, and if it's not a nonprofit, because I don't remember hearing that discussion about, then you have some different contractual you may insert in there. But why is it that it's just not open to the public, whenever you're renting property without making it if it's a nonprofit, which I don't remember, because I even remember the person that had one of the properties years ago. That person is now retired. Why would we take it that far if we just opened it up and made it public to whoever wanted to rent a property when it became available, and you put out there, like those, some of the council members that may own rental property, and they put it open, you know, you put it on the market. Why is it that we have to make it something different other than that?
Well, if you will take a look at the sheet, we actually have 10 nonprofits that have property that they lease from the city. The policy is 155.6, and it is the lease of city-owned property to nonprofits or for-profit ventures. So looking at it, Cool Springs, as part of their benefit to the city of managing our arts and entertainment district, Cateford Studios, also, I believe we have a small contract for service for them as well. Fayetteville Dogwood Festival has space in 222 Hay Street. The Jazz Society has a space on the top floor, 222 Hay Street. Rape Crisis Center and Action Pathways, those are in the Arts Council and Manor Church Dream Center for those. They are actually not only renting space, leasing space from us, but also providing services for us consistent with that as well.
Yeah, now, but I understand all of that, and gosh, I didn't realize all of this until I looked at the list there. No, but I understand that, and I do appreciate that, and I'm thankful for the services that they provide. But I was just saying, why is it that we just, if making it open to the public was council members' goal, what is wrong with it just being a property that becomes vacant and we put it on the market?
Well, and that's
I mean,
really.
what's the difference?
It's your choice, sir.
No,
It's,
I'm just asking,
okay.
because does it have to be that type of contractual 5-year, 10-year, whatever? Why it's just, okay, we got a vacant unit? And the only reason I'm saying, because I was wondering if we were trying to meet the goal of the transparency and open it to the public. That was all I was asking.
Well, I think what you're saying, if I hear you right, is that the specifics of the terms, you're saying that why does that need to be disclosed? Because anything the city
Well,
does
see,
is-
but that would depend on who the person, who is it that gets the property. Let's just say let's just say I have a property.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to put that property becomes vacant. I'm going to put it on the market.
Yeah.
All right, I put that property on the market. Well, that property is available to Doug Hewitt, Mitch Colvin, or Johnson Johnson nonprofit company. I mean, it's open to the public.
Right, but I guess what his
So-
point is that there's a process to make sure that the public knows when that happens. See, if you've got a piece of property and you tell me,
Well,
hey
I'm
man,
making
I got
that, but you're making that property aware to its vacancy, like any rental real estate
if it's
company
posted.
in the city of Fayetteville.
if it's posted.
Right.
Yeah, if it's posted.
Right, but
But
that's how
there
you're
may
gonna-
be a situation where,
There's
these guys over here wanted to lease some parking space, and they came to the city and said, I want to lease, PCH said, I want to lease, 50 parking spaces, which is on here. That didn't need to be posted because they made the solicitation to the city. So I think he's just wanting to make sure, as well as all of us, that it can be easily disclosed. To me, again, whether you rent to or from, it's the same. If there's a link, it's easy that you can see what it is. The public has an appreciation for being able to see that, and you're done with it. So I guess, Councilman
just
McMillan, I know we've got a motion on the floor. I know we're discussing it, but I think because there are some nuances in here, this may need to be, I know when we move this to a work session, if there's an opportunity to go through this, if council wants to make some changes. But right now, you got a motion that's on the floor to adopt it as is. And so without some modifications, I don't know that I'll be supported as is.
If I may,
Yes,
could I
sir.
amend my movement?
Yes, sir.
Right on. Could I amend the movement to, and if I could direct everybody to line 2.3, the end of line 2.3, and I'll read the whole thing. All conflict of interest laws as provided by the city's code of ethics. There is a little bit at the end of that says, except that no city council member or city employee may lease from the city.
Wrong, not
And
two.
I think that is my amendment, is to abide by our code of ethics, which I'm glad you directed us to, because it talks about disclosure and it talks about who can and cannot.
What was that last
engage in city
line?
laws. It's
Sean,
2.3.
Councilman?
All conflicts of interest, so we want to keep the beginning of it, interest laws as provided by the city's code of ethics. What I would amend this to is that the council move to accept this with the exclusion of the term, the phrase, except that no city council member or city employee may lease from the city. And I have some comments for discussion.
You said exclude that part?
Exclude that last part.
If I may.
So,
Help him explain. So basically, he's amending that section to say just follow the code of ethics. Because as it's written, it's still excluding employees and council members from being able to rent. Because under the code, you could, like you said, so long as you don't have a benefit and et cetera, et cetera. There are exceptions to the rules as it relates to conflicts. So he's just saying just follow the code of ethics.
Thank you for clarifying that. So I move that we accept all of the amendment, all of the changes with the exception of that.
that's a huge pivot.
Then I
All
have
right,
some
so
other
that's-
points that I've been wanting to make this whole discussion, if I may.
Okay. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. No, this is what it's about, y'all.
Yeah.
It's about transparency. This sheet right here, I just got it today. You've been here for many decades, a couple of decades, and we're not aware of what's on here. And what came to mind to me in reading this initial policy was, how does anybody know what's up for lease? How would we prevent nepotism in a way that only allows people who are in the know to take advantage of this or to participate in this? And the fact that we're having this conversation and hearing about the gaps in understanding of this body even, based on this, is exactly why I brought up the need for those changes. So I am even open to making sure that it comes under more scrutiny and goes through more editing in order to make sure that we're on the same page in terms of providing transparency and accountability. In my opinion, the public should be able to see this online. I shouldn't have to wait 2 weeks to see this as a council member, and the public shouldn't have to wait a second to see this and know what's available. And that's what we're driving for. And I appreciate the opportunity to say that.
Yeah, appreciate it. So you got a couple council members. I see Councilmember Green and Davis and Jones.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have one question, and it might be in this thing somewhere. I didn't see it, but, and I just want to be clear in my head. Maybe somebody else has got the same questions. So in a lease, a lot of commercial leases, there is a end date, but then there is an option to continue. Is that allowable under this? So what I'm thinking about is I'm looking at some of these things at the airport because they are more specialized, and it's not easy to acquire a hangar, an airplane hangar. So there are limited spaces, and then you wouldn't want to see somebody leave because their lease ran out and somebody else decided to come in and take over their space. So my concern would be if you were in there and you had a continuation of the lease. So in other words, you and I have an agreement, and then it says but on such and such a date, this lease ends, and then there's a 5%, 3% increase for cost of living built in, and it goes to the new amount, then is that allowable under this? Or in your thought process, is that not something? Because to me, I deal with that every day, and I know Councilmember Hondros does as well. So it would be a concern that somebody would lose their lease because we had a policy in place that could negate that.
Yes, ma'am. And as I understand it, any new leases will not include options. We're doing them just 1-year leases on the fiscal year.
Okay. That's what I needed to know. Thank you.
Could I also add to that? Part of the discovery process in that is learning that a lot of these are over 20 years old. A lot of these leases, and one of the things I've requested from the staff is an additional column that says when the leases started, like that initial date. And I think we'll find there's a lot of long-term leases on here that we should remain aware of, because anything over 10 years has a different set of rules.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Davis.
Yes, thank you. I'm trying to, I understand, but I'm trying to understand, is the question and is the confusion that it's not marketed a certain particular way for people to see it? Like, for the realtors, we use the MLS system. Is when we have these for rent, are they posted in the MLS system, or are they posted on the commercial areas? Are they posted in Zillow? Where are they posted so that people can see them? And are they just posted on the city's website? Because it says social media accounts. I don't know what social media accounts mean for the city of Fayetteville. But are they posted in the actual real estate market and Zillow and stuff like that?
Currently, no, sir.
So is that what you're trying to get at, that we should post it in those avenues?
Yeah, that's one of the things I said at the last meeting. I suggested
I thought
multiple
so.
channel listings, and that's what's reflected in the current policy.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, Councilmember Hondros. Oh, Jones, and then Hondros.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Definitely for the transparency piece, I need to echo Councilwoman Green's sentiment. We're pushing economic development at the same time as transparency. I don't think those are mutually exclusive. At the same time, I don't think we want to overly complicate. I think we can be transparent. Like you said, I like the aspect of adding the publication methods. I think that's Councilman Harris said it very, very simply. Here it is. This is what we have from the city. Everyone can see it. So I think even the addition on the website and the additional spaces, I think that definitely lends itself to the transparency piece, because you can see it as well. One of the things that I can't help but think about is if we have some, and it may happen. I mean, it happens in outside of purview of government. If you have some long-term tenants and definitely bringing us a level of value to the city. When it renews, I get letting the public know things of that nature. I understand that you are also going to run the risk, and again, this happens regularly, so I don't want to paint a picture that it doesn't. I just think we don't want to make businesses fearful, so to speak, of coming here. Just knowing that, okay, if again, we take nothing for granted, but just coming here, okay, if I get a lease and I'm bringing a value to the city, whether it be through jobs, et cetera, through a lease space, that I run the risk of, because you said 1 year, we only do 1 year leases.
So there are some exceptions, sir, but
Okay. Yeah.
the document that's before you, it shows you those in blue. Those are the nonprofits. Those are
Right.
mainly the ones we're talking about. The others are going to
Right.
be your commercial leases. So those are distinguished, and we have some residentials. Those are distinguished from the blue nonprofits where they're getting a lower than market rate.
Understood. And I think I'll sum up what I'm saying is it would lend itself to affecting some stability of businesses, whether it's a nonprofit or a business itself. But again, I make it very clear, I'm for the transparency piece, adding it to the website or whatever the social media aspect is. But if the policy is in place already to do some of these things, with that being the major component, I would be for it. Right now, I think for me, it would need to be looked at a little closer. For me, I couldn't support it as it is right now. Definitely for the transparency. So again, let me say that. So I think with the addition of that, I think we need to clean it up or have staff to look at it a little more. Thank you.
All right, Councilman Hondros.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a lot of questions now. So, one, the blue highlighted are nonprofits, the white are more commercial or maybe residential, but they're private party leases, and then the yellow are all airport, correct? So, Attorney Pulliam, you said that we as a policy only do 1 year leases now?
I'm going to look to Ms. Parker. Is that correct? Yes, that is correct.
For nonprofits.
Would you mind coming to the podium, please, so the public can hear you? Thank you.
Yeah, I think there's a couple here. ASOM, I'm assuming that's through the foundation, or is that through, it's under, in the white, I think that would be a nonprofit, right? Same thing with FTCC, aren't they kind of a governmental nonprofit? FTCC and ASOM?
C is, the ASOM I'm not as familiar with, actually, because that one was done through a different entity. That one I didn't handle.
Yeah, and there's a couple on here, even though they're nonprofits, they don't have a dollar amount. I think, this is a legal question, isn't it supposed to have like $1 or $10 to make it, there's supposed to be some kind of consideration?
The consideration for those will be the services they provide to the city.
My challenge is the 1-year leases. So some of the leases, like there's a restaurant on here. Yeah, can you make that distinction, please?
Yes, sir. So the 1 year, and Ms. Parker, you correct me if I'm wrong, there will be some exceptions, such, let's say Subway, for example. Or if we already entered into the lease that had the option already in there. But when we redo it, we would not include an option for some of them. The commercial leases will be different, but for those on the top, those blue ones are the ones that I'm aware of. But Ms. Parker, you can elaborate on that if I got that wrong.
That is correct. Subway was a long-term lease that was started. It was like a 5-year lease with 2 5-year extensions built into the lease.
Right,
Years ago.
and that's the thing. If we, I don't know if council made the policy to do only 1-year leases, but I know from experience that
That's a lot of time.
when you're converting a space, a shell space into a restaurant or something, is a considerable investment up front, and almost no tenant is going to do that. No business owner is going to do that without having a leasehold estate where they know they got 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years to recoup that initial investment.
That comes into play a lot at the airport.
Yeah.
Because the airport is so specialized and also is dictated a lot by FAA, the way the properties were acquired. So if I'm not mistaken, the way the policy is written, or the way it has been written, is that there are certain instances where we might not be able to follow the 1-year lease, like you're saying.
Come back.
Yeah, and quite frankly, a lot of these that are over, they were presented to council and council approved them. We didn't just do those. That's not allowed by statute. Statute requires certain things that have to be done, and we have followed those rules in the leases that are over.
Right. It's just not uncommon. Matter of fact, it's very common to have multi-year leases with sometimes multiple renewal options. So I just don't want to
speak to that.
cut our
I'm
nose
sorry to
off to
interrupt you,
spite
but
our
I do
face.
want to speak to that. Actually, the history of that is years ago, council decided that they did not want the leases to be multi-year. They preferred them to be annual leases that went along with our fiscal budget year. And so that is why the majority are on the term of July 1 to June 30 every year.
Yeah, I mean, I get that piece, and sometimes instead of doing a 12-month lease or a 36-month lease, you do a 30-month lease, or you do an odd, 43 months to get it to line up with the fiscal year. So I'm okay with lining it up with the fiscal year. My reservation is, because we don't want to cut our nose off to spite our face, we could be negatively impacting our ability as a city, as an owner, to lease the space if we're not wanting to do multi-year leases. That part doesn't really make sense to me. The transparency piece, if we want to have a page on the website where you click on it, or a tab, and it has this list, I'm all for it. I think our surplus property, any property the city owns, should be readily available. So having a tab, I guess for this agenda item, for me, it's kind of two pieces. There's the transparency piece, and my other colleague mentioned, we partner with FCEDC. They're members of like CoStar. CoStar and LoopNet's one of the biggest kind of listing services that commercial realtors use. I'm sure through them we could list all of this stuff for lease or for sale that we have through their membership. So one piece was the advertising, marketing, transparency piece, and then the other piece was just the revisions on the stuff. I thought that legal had already kind of reviewed these proposed revisions, so I didn't see an issue with it, but whatever. I don't know if we need to send it back to staff, I guess is where I'm getting at, or what we want to do.
Yeah, so we got a motion to dispose of, and I'll come back to you. I still got a couple of, got Councilman McNair, I have a question, then I'll come back to you, Councilman McMillan, so we can see where we're going with this. Yes, ma'am, it's your turn.
Thank you. Transparency, Mr. McMillan, is key for me as well. But however, this item seems a little complex, and I feel that it needs to come back, and we need to talk about it a little bit more. Because, look, my brain is everywhere right now, so I'm sorry.
It's on about hour 6 right now.
Yeah.
All right, and so, Council, just before I go back to Councilman McMillan to kind of see where we are on this motion, it's been a proper motion and it's seconded by Hondros. I think we've had adequate discussion. Again, I want to emphasize this and I want to ask this question. So in the white section, we see PCH Development, Prince Charles Holdings, $4,500 and $12,500. Mr. Hewitt, how much do we pay? I heard it earlier today that you had staff redesigning some office space because we were trying to get folks out of Festival Park. How much we rent that property for?
How much we rent what?
Festival Park. The offices we occupy, it was $30,000 a month, $25,000, 30.
I don't know how much we
Something.
spend on Festival Park, no.
But it was,
You know, Keisha, right off.
He's the right figure.
it's
30
about 30
of
grand a month. Wouldn't you like to know that? Do you think the public deserves to know that? That they lease from us at $4,500 a month or a year,
Yeah.
and we rent at $35,000 a month. I mean, so that's the to and from conversation I'm talking about. So if we're going to get it, we just need to make it all accessible, because the public is just as interested in knowing who we're paying as to who's paying us or not paying us.
Agreed. If I may, Mr. Mayor, as the motioner, if you're willing to maybe withdraw that and send it back either to policy committee where maybe you can attend that meeting, go to policy, and with staff kind of work through this a little bit more and bring it back to us.
Absolutely. I'm willing to make that motion now, if I may. So I'll withdraw my initial movement, and then also move that we send this back to policy committee to act in accordance with the recommendations that were made during this work session.
Is that a second, Councilman Davis? Oh, you got a question? All right. Second by Councilman Jones. There's a question by Davis and Councilman Hare.
My question is, this didn't come from policy committee, it came from the city attorney, correct?
Came from a council meeting.
No, but when you,
No, it came from the.
No, sir, it came from the policy committee, and when it came from the policy committee, Councilman McMillan had additional changes, and so the direction then was to work with staff, and the staff was the city attorney's office, because I have the real estate division.
Well, he's not on policy, so just the chair over here.
No, I'm just saying how it came back here is council's direction. Last time, it came from policy to adopt it with the changes from staff and the
Oh, yeah.
policy committee.
And we were at a council meeting that
Right.
sent it to this
Okay.
place.
I
That's
was just
true.
going to say, it can't just go to city attorneys and make the changes and come back, but okay, I digress.
Yeah, not one-on-one. All right. So the motion is to send this back to policy for input, and then the committee and the attorney's office will come back to this council for options and recommendations based on what was heard today. We had a lot of good feedback, so. All right, Councilmember Hare.
I also, thank you, Mayor. It did come from us, and it did get pulled here at the council meeting, and it to where we are now. But I would also suggest to the chair of policy that maybe we look at this just being the only item of discussion for that time, because, our meetings can be very, very in-depth, very long, with several items. And this is an understandable item that really needs some strict attention. That would be my only suggestion to the motion.
Thank you, sir, but the policy agenda has already been set for this month. If we do that, it will have to be in February.
Then so be it. So be it for February, because it's that important. And like I said, we have such long, for those of you, especially some of the new members, and even the members that haven't been a part to come to policy, we get deep, and we have staff surrounding the room. It's hard sometimes to get through the agenda. So that's my option. If it means that it goes to February, Mr. Chairman, I'm okay with it as a member and you as the chair. And it's just, that's my
All right.
request to it.
All right, yeah, so the motion on the floor is to send it back to policy. I think we're all on the same page there. So, Council, I'll look to you for your votes on that. All right. Okay, sounds good. Thank you. Good work. All right, Council, moving to final item, 6.08. Oh, am I missing one? Huh? Oh, I thought y'all was saying I'm missing an item. I was like, no. 6.08, consideration proposed amendments to parades, motorcades, special events, and demonstration ordinance. Madam Attorney, I think that we'll start with you to tee it off. I know that there's been a lot of discussion about it. We've received a lot of emails both today and prior to. Following Mr. Pitts had an article that sparked a lot of interest, but you did some research for us, and today your staff is here to present some of that, so I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mayor Coven, Council. So this item is a proposal for amendments to 3 separate provisions of we'll call it the picketing ordinance, but it does also address parades and assembly. I want to start with just giving council some background as to constitutional law, because when you're talking about regulating speech, you are